Hello, everybody. It is Eric from We Are Change and Back Nation Radio. Doing my daily rant today, which is, let's see, Wednesday, August 21st. And it's sad that I actually had to look at my clock to find out what day it was because every day starts to bleed into the next. Been working hardcore overtime with Back Nation and getting this network off the ground. And we've added a wonderful new addition. Good friend of mine, Professor Griff, whose show is on Tuesdays, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. And since we brought him on the network, the other hosts and the other guests and people are kind of crossing back and forth. Where we're getting some of his listeners and he's getting some of ours, and people are starting to realize that there's a lot more to what our own perspective is. And I wanted to talk about how the race division, racism, or social engineering has come into play with those types of issues. And I want to say that, from the standpoint of the average American, white American, um, the average Joe just thinks that racism is the N word, and that's pretty much it. Uh, I wish it was that simple. I wish it was just a word we could stop using, and then that would be it. That's nowhere near scratching the surface. So the problem that we have is, you can look back in history. You can add slavery to that. Absolutely, is that racism? Yes. But I want to focus on what we're dealing with today in our times, things that we can actually change to affect the future. And I want to explain that racism is way deeper than just a word. It's everywhere, and it's so subtle and sometimes so subliminal that we don't realize that it's even there. For instance, the culture. If you look at hip hop, for instance, and you see the changes in hip hop, it's no longer hip hop anymore. It's become this stereotypical way of behaving that, from my angle, could only possibly be there to create more divide between blacks and whites because, you know, you get the 17-year-old kid who wants to get a job. He goes to the job interview. He's got his hat cocked. He's wearing baggy pants. His ass is hanging out. I mean, is he doing it to be uh, to be disrespectful? No, that's the images we've given him. When he turns on the TV and he sees, you know, this guy with all this money and all these women and fast cars and everything, and he's got his ass hanging out, he thinks, well, that's what I got to do to be successful. I got to walk around with my ass hanging out, and that is racism. It is the programming of our youth today. It is the perception. Um, and I brought that instance up as a prime example because I managed a pizza place, a few years back, and I had to do some of the interviews. And one of the interviews was a younger black man that came in with his ass hanging out, and so, and he didn't have a work history, so I really wasn't sure what questions to ask him. So I decided, let me ask him. Let's try to get into this kid's head. What's do you live with your mom? Do you live with your parents? Did you graduate high school? And I come to realize that I don't think he really understood that people, the average person, would not hire him because he came to an interview dressed that way. You know, is that wrong? I think the saddest part of the whole thing is that he was taught and trained to behave that way, and that he didn't even realize that he was participating in his own enslavement. And so I gave him the job, and I explained to him why. I told him, you haven't had a male role figure in the house. You've obviously you need some kind of guidance, and I don't think you're going to get a job anywhere else. I mean, I hate to break it to you, but I believe that everybody deserves a chance. And what I wanted to teach him was that he needed to learn how to give himself a chance. That he didn't don't hold yourself into these behaviors. It irks the crap out of me when people say, why are you acting black? Or, if you have dark skin and you're not acting black enough, that like, what is that crap? I mean, can we sit down and actually see and take a look at what it really means to be black? I obviously don't have the answer to that, but that is one of the main reasons. That specifically is why I wanted Professor Griff to be on our network. because I wanted BAP Nation to be about freedom and liberty and spirituality and humanity. And it would have been an injustice and it would have been incredibly irresponsible for me to only present to you, our listeners, one side of the story. I wanted to engage in multicultural exchanges. I want blacks and whites to engage in dialogue so that we can learn to see things from each other's perspective because we've been programmed. And sometimes we don't even realize we're doing it, but we have all engaged in racism in one shape, form, or another. Even if in our hearts we're not, racist. Like I have no hatred for another race or religion or creed or any of that stuff, but we might say something and we don't even realize that we're being insensitive or that we, we're pushing our ignorance out there to be viewed by others because there's a lot that I don't know and I have nothing but room to grow. And so with that being said, I want us to kind of look at these things, and these are going to be regular topics on different shows on our network so that we can present different angles on social issues, on political issues, spiritual issues, and current events and whatnot. So with this daily rant, I spoke with Griff last night, and we had a really great show. But this coming Tuesday show, I think, is a very bold and direct step in the right direction. It's got pretty much all of us uncomfortable because we're not sure if this is going to be an all-out brawl. Are we gonna argue, or are we gonna sit down as human beings and try to hammer out some of these differences? Because I think that we are being separated so that we can be conquered, and I don't want to lose this war. And so let us learn from each other. Let us grow spiritually and build our human family, as Griff calls it. And tune in this coming Tuesday, which would be, of course, I got to look at my calendar again. That would be the 28th, August 28th, Tuesday, um, at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Griff will be bringing some very interesting guests on, and he's going to dive directly into racism. Hopefully, at the end of the show, we have some serious, concrete methods or ideas that can lead us toward a solution or toward unity. But I think that the importance of this show specifically is important enough to where I wanted to incorporate it as my daily rant. So again, uh, Tuesday, August 28th, or no, that'd be the 27th. Sorry, Tuesday, August 27th. Uh, Check out Enemy Minds on BAP Nation Radio. It's blogtalkradio.com/ BAP Nation, BAP Nation. And Professor Griff, Minister of Information of the hip hop group Public Enemy, will be discussing these topics. And let's see what happens. I think it needs to be done. I think the dialogue needs to be open, and there needs to be some education going on. I mean, I grew up in an all-black neighborhood, and I still have a lot to learn. So let's do it. Um, Peace out. I love you guys, like always. It's Eric from We Are Change, BAP Nation, signing off. Daily Rant.